Hello students, welcome to the another online session of PlusOne statistics class. The last class we were starting our second chapter, that is collection of data, and we already learned what do you mean by data and what do you mean by collection of data or data collection. That's our second chapter, and also the introduction of second chapter is over in the last class. And here we are discussing what are the different types of data. In the case of collection of data, we will learn what is data, and the data are classified as two categories: primary data and secondary data. The term primary data means these are the data which are collected by the investigator at the first time, and also these primary data are also known as first hand information or first hand data. The second type of data is secondary data. The secondary data means these are the data which are already collected by some other persons for some other purpose. So these data are second hand information or secondary data. So these are the types of data. So today we are going to learn a new topic, that is methods of collecting primary data. Already we know the data are classified as two categories: primary data and secondary data. These data are collected by using different methods. Each methods are entirely different from others. So the primary data are collected by using some methods, and the secondary data are collected by using some methods. So today we are going to learn the methods of collecting primary data. What are the methods that have to be used for collecting primary data? That's the topic we are going to learn in the today's session. So the first one is methods of collecting primary data. The first method is direct personal interview method. Already we know what you mean by interview. Interview means it is a face-to-face interaction between interviewer and the respondents. What is interviewer, or who is interviewer, or who is the respondent? The interviewer is the person, those who are collecting the data, that is known as interviewer or investigator. And the respondent, who is the respondent? The respondents are the persons giving answers to the questions. So the respondents are the persons, those who are giving answer to the question, that is known as respondent. So the first method of collecting primary data is direct personal interview method. In this personal interview method, the investigator himself goes to the place of respondent and collect the information by asking questions. So here there is a face-to-face interaction between the investigator and the respondent. So in this direct personal interview method, the investigator, I already said who is an investigator. Investigator or the invigilator is the person, those who are collecting the data, that is known as investigator. So in this direct personal interview method, the investigator himself goes to the place of respondent and collect the information by asking questions. So here there is a face-to-face interaction between the investigator and the respondent is possible. So the investigator asks the questions by the respondents, and the respondents give answers to the investigator. So there is a face-to-face interaction between the investigator and the respondent is possible in the case of direct personal interview method. The questions may asked through structured or unstructured questions. In this direct personal interview method, the investigator may ask questions through structured or unstructured way. Then what I mean by structured questionnaire? So, before studying the problem of investigation, the investigator prepare a list of questions that he feels relevant and useful for the enquiry. And the printed form of questionnaire given to the respondents, and he is asked to record his answers himself. This form of questionnaire is called structured questionnaire. So there are two types of questionnaires are prepared by the interviewer at the time of collecting data. The first one is structured questionnaire. I already said the term questionnaire means it's a set of questions prepared by the investigator, that is known as questionnaire. The questions are always related with our study or our investigation. So the the term questionnaire means it's a list of questions or set of questions prepared by the investigator for asking questions to the respondents. And there are two types of questionnaires, structured questionnaires and unstructured questionnaires. In the structured questionnaires, the investigator prepares a list of questions before studying the problem, and he feels that these questions are relevant and useful for the enquiry, and he prepare a printed form of questionnaire and given to the respondent, and the respondents are asked to answer the questions himself. This form of questionnaire is known as structured questionnaire. Then what I mean by unstructured questionnaire? In some cases, an investigator collecting data from the HIV positive patient or HIV positive people, the patient in this case may not give proper answer to the question. In this situation, the investigator frame a certain question. It would be better to asking questions based on the situation. This type of questionnaire is called unstructured questionnaire. The unstructured questionnaire means it is not prepared questions. It is not a well prepared questions. These type of questions are based on the situations of the study. For example, we are collecting some data related with an HIV patient. At that particular patient or that particular disease suffering person, HIV person, may not give the proper answer to the question. At that time, we are preparing or we are collecting the data based on the situation of that particular person. So that's why we are known as these type of questionnaire is known as unstructured questionnaire. That means these questions may not be prepared in earlier. That is known as unstructured questionnaire. It is based on, or these type of questionnaires are based upon some situations. Then merits of direct personal interview method, merits and demerits. The first merit is information collected is accurate and reliable. In the case of direct personal interview method, the information or collected informations are more accurate and reliable. The second merit, the response and cooperation from the respondent is high. In this method of data collection, the response and cooperation from the respondents are very high. Then next merit, possible to collect additional and supplementary data. The investigator want more data or additional and supplementary data. It is possible in the case of direct personal interview method. The next one, uniformity and homogeneity can be maintained. In this method of collecting data, the uniformity can be maintained in the time of collection of data. The last one, The language or standard of question should be adjusted according to the educational level of respondents. In this direct personal interview method, the level of question or the standard of questions can be adjusted according to the educational qualifications of the respondents. The next one, demerits of direct personal interview method. It is a more expensive and time-consuming method of data collection. Next, demerits. Unfair investigator may bring only partial truth. When an investigator is an unfair, in that time the data collection or the data may be give only the partial truth only. Then inability of the investigator may lead to faulty result. When an investigator is not an able person, it may lead to fault result. The next one, personal bias may be happen. In this direct personal interview method, the personal bias means we have to give some consideration for some other persons. That is known as personal bias. So in most of the cases, the direct personal interview method may have personal bias may be happen. The next one, it is not applicable to wide study. In this direct personal interview method is not applicable for wide study. It is based on a small studies. The second method is observation. The observation is a popular method of collecting data. It refers to monitoring, recording of behavior and non-behavioral activities in a systematic manner to obtain information about a particular situation. So the term observation means monitoring and recording of behavioral and non-behavioral activities of a particular situation or behavioral and non-behavioral activities in a systematic manner to obtain information about a particular situation. We want to know or we want to collect the data or information from a behavioral and non-behavioral activities. In this observation method, we have to be collect the data. First of all, we have to be observing that particular situation, then recording the observed information. That kind of data collection method is known as observation. Then third method is telephonic interview. The method of collecting primary data, the next method is telephonic interview. Already we know the term telephonic interview. Already we know the term telephone and interview. In this method, in this telephonic interview method, the investigator collects the data from the respondent through telephone. So the telephone is a medium for collecting information. So the telephonic interview is the method of collecting primary data. In this method, the investigator collects the data from the respondents through telephone. So here the telephone plays a medium for collecting the information. The next we are discussing merits and demerits of telephonic interview. The first one is merits. Less time and money consuming. Here the telephonic interview method is less time and money consuming method. The next one, the respondents can avoid the strain of writing. So at the time of direct personal interview method, the investigator gives some questions and the respondents can himself filled by these questions. But here the telephonic interview method, the respondents cannot write anything. So in this case, the respondent can avoid the strain of writing. The next merit, the respondents can speak through telephone openly rather than meeting face to face. In some situations, some persons speak openly through the way of speaking in telephone rather than as compared to face interview. Next one is demerits of collecting primary data. The first one is it is not applicable for wide study. The telephonic interview method is not applicable for wide study. The second demerit, the response of the respondents may not be reliable. Whether the respondents are giving information, these informations may not be reliable or may not be genuine. Next one, the interpretation by the investigator may be wrong. In sometimes the interpretation of the investigator may be wrong. Then access telephone is compulsory. While we are collecting the data in a telephonic interview method, the telephone is compulsory in the case of in the side of investigator and the side of respondents. Then only we have to be conducting interview in telephone. Next one, if more questions are to be asked, the method become more expensive. When the investigator asking more questions, so it will take more time and also it will take more telephone bill. So it is more expensive. The next one, clarity of telephone line is compulsory. In sometimes some kinds of network issues are happen while we are speaking. So the network disturbance make fault result or fault data collection. So the clarity of telephone line is compulsory. Then fourth one is mailed questionnaire method. What do you mean by mailed questionnaire method? In this method, the questionnaire is prepared and sent to the self-addressed envelope and covering letter requesting to furnish the necessary information sent along with the questionnaire. This method is useful where the respondents are spread over a wide area. Mailed questionnaire means the questionnaire is prepared in a printed form and we have to be sent to the questionnaires in a respondents addressed using an envelope. നമ്മളൊരു കവറിലിട്ടിട്ട് കവറിൽ ആരാണോ റെസ്പോണ്ടന്റ് അയാളുടെ അഡ്രസ് എഴുതി അയാളിലേക്ക് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനെയർ അയച്ചു കൊടുത്തിട്ട് ഡാറ്റാസ് കളക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന മെത്തേഡിനെയാണ് മെയിൽഡ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനെയർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. സോ ദീസ് ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് മെത്തേഡ്സ് ആർ commonly used in when the respondents are spread over a wide areas. The next one, merits and demerits of questionnaire, mailed questionnaire. First one, merits. This method is applicable for wide study. So when we are conducting a wide study, this method of data collection is possible. The next one is less expensive. That means the postal charges is less as compared to other methods. The next one is it can maintain a reasonable standard of accuracy. So these type of data collection maintain a reasonable standard. The next one, the data will not affect the bias. There is no type of personal bias or bias cannot be affected in this type of data collection. The next one is the lack of training of investigator may not affect the result. When the investigator have the lack of training, this will not affect the collection of data. The next one is inability of investigator may not affect the result. When an investigator is not an able person, it will not affect the result. The next one is demerits. It is applicable only if the respondent is literate. This type of data collection is only applicable when the respondent is literate. The next one is response of respondents may not be reliable. Whether we are asking questions by the respondents or sending questionnaire to the respondents, they may fill some type of wrong answers. So this type of response may not be reliable or may not be genuine. The next one, sometimes the respondents gives unclear answers. In most of the times, some respondents may fill wrong answers or some may not be fill all the answers, etc. So it may give unclear answers. The last demerit is some respondents will not send it back in time. We were sent the questionnaire to the respondent address and the respondents are filled the questionnaire and send it back to the investigator address. So some respondents will not send it back in on time. So these are the methods of collecting, 4 methods of collecting primary data. So the mailed questionnaire method is one of the important method of collecting primary data. Then we are moving on to another topic, that is what do you mean by a questionnaire? Actually I already said a questionnaire is a set of questions designed to generate the statistical information from a specific area needed to accomplish the research objectives. When we are going to study a particular problem or a particular situation, we want to get or want to know more details or more data related with that particular topic or particular study or particular situation. At that time we are collecting the data or information related with that particular topic using questionnaire. So the questionnaire is a set of questions prepared by the investigator. So these questions are related with our study. Then success or failure of the study depends upon the data collection. So the data is collected through different methods like interview, questionnaire, etc. So the success or failure of the study depends upon the data collection. Whether our study is success or failure, it may be depends upon the data collection when we are collecting our data, or what are the data we are collecting for our study. So this data is collected through different methods like interview, questionnaire, etc. So a questionnaire contains two parts. The first part contains the aim and objectives of the investigation mentioned in the first part, and the questions are included in the second part. So the questionnaire is a set of questions prepared by the investigator, or a questionnaire is a list of questions prepared by the investigator, and these questions are related with our study. So the questionnaire contains two parts. The first part contains the aim and objectives of the investigation, and the second part contains questions. So the next one is, what are the qualities of a questionnaire? What are the qualities of a good questionnaire? The first one is, the question should be capable of objective answers. While we are preparing questionnaire, the question should be capable of objective answers. The second one, the question should be clear, simple and easy to understand. When we are preparing a questionnaire, the question should be clear, simple and easy to understand all the respondents. The next one, question should be brief. While we are preparing a questionnaire, the question should be brief, not too long. Next one, the question should not use double meaning. Whether the questions while we are preparing a questionnaire, the question should not use double meaning. The next one, the question should be arranged in a logical manner. Which question we have to be asking the first, and which one is the second question. So the question should be arranged in logical manner. The next one, personal questions should be avoided. While we are preparing a questionnaire, the personal questions related with the respondents can be avoided. The next one, the questionnaire should look attractive. The prepared questionnaire should be more attractive. Then only the respondents may be filled by the questionnaire. The next one, the questionnaire should be pre-tested. While we are preparing a questionnaire, the questionnaire should be always pre-tested. Then what do you mean by pre-tested? The term pre-testing is also known as pilot survey. So the term pilot survey means it is advisable to test the questionnaire for its accuracy and suitability on limited number of respondents before conducting the main study. So the term pilot survey means while we are going to conducting the main study, we are conducting a pre-testing or trial rehearsal using these type of questionnaire. So it's also known as pre-testing or pilot survey. So the pre-testing of questionnaire helps us to identify the shortcomings and defects in questionnaire. So the pre-testing of questionnaire helps us to identify the shortcomings or default or any errors in this questionnaire. So this is the meaning of pilot survey or pre-testing. So I already said the questionnaire means a questionnaire is a set of questions prepared by the investigator, and these questions are always related with our study. The questionnaire contains two parts. The first part contains aims and objectives of the research or aims and objectives of our study, and the second part contains questions. So these are the qualities, or these are the some of the qualities while we are preparing or preparing questionnaire. And the next one is pilot survey. Pilot survey means trial rehearsal. While we are going to conducting the main study, we are conducting a trial rehearsal using the set of questionnaire, that is known as pilot survey. This type of pile survey helps to identify the defects and errors in our questionnaire. So this is all about our today's session. Thank you for watching this video.